Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. This is our second week into Party Like It's 1999 November. Very exciting time here at the show.
Totally.
We talked about Mystery Men last week. How'd you guys feel about that? How's it sat with you? Or have you
Honestly,
even thought about it anymore?
Great way to launch.
Did you guys watch the trailer? I posted the trailer on our Instagram.
Oh Lord, no, I did not.
It's terrible,
not
but
see
you should
that.
watch it because it's funny to watch. All Star is in part of the trailer even.
The All-Star Band, yeah. I think that...
Oh, I love that.
Smash Mouth by All Star.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like the clip of it is in the trailer, but it's funny.
Is it one of those, like, in a world? Does it have the narrator
well, it
voice?
starts out in Champion City is how it starts.
But we've really departed from the days of the trailer voice in general. You don't get that anymore. You don't get the in Champion City, everyone has a superpower. You don't
Someone
get that
may have
anymore.
done this already. If someone on the internet has done a YouTube essay on this, please let me know. But I feel like it's a job for you, David, if they haven't. I need some kind of like historical breakdown of trends in movie trailers because in different eras they are edited in different ways, and I would love to see that explored why. I don't know if people have looked into that.
I'm
why
sure
are
there's
they the way
gotta
they
be.
are now?
There's got to be an analysis
Because-
out there somewhere.
Because in my head, I'm thinking, why are they so long right now when we're in the age of the short attention span?
Yes,
And they seem
I
to only get
agree.
longer.
Only get longer. By the time I'm like halfway done, I'm like, I feel like I've seen the whole movie. I don't
Sometimes
even
you
wanna watch
have.
it.
Because they just...
Why am I gonna watch this?
What's crazy to me is I've noticed this sort of as an addendum to that. After I watched the movie, I realized, most of the trailer was like the first act. It was like all from like the first
That happens a
24
lot too,
minutes.
yeah.
I've seen that a couple times where like a lot of the trailer is just like the early bit, and then you get like all this other like a whole new movie after that. So I don't know if that's sort of in conjunction with it.
I live for a world. I'll do this. I like to edit movie trailers or fun things like that. Like that, I think to me would be really fun. And I
What the heck?
would love to cater the trailer to the movie. Like, if this is a silly little rom-com, maybe we do bring back the voice. And just because it would be so nostalgic for so many people. And like, it would give you a variety. Again, everything gets blended in and all at the same time. Everything feels the damn same.
Time is so strange because you just mentioned that the trailer voice would be nostalgic, and I agree with you. But also, we remember the time where trailers were like that, and now they're not. And it's like, when did that switch actually happen? Now I
Yeah.
don't really even know. Because I remember that being normal. And you
Yes.
wouldn't think of it as, oh, this is nostalgic. This was just normal. And
I
now,
didn't notice
There's
when
a
it
thing for
changed.
this.
Is there a term for this?
There's a thing for this, and I don't know what it's called, but you know what they equate it to? When is the last time you took a long road trip and had a bunch of bugs splatter on your windshield?
I've read about
I've heard
this.
that,
You
but
don't
I don't
think
know
of-
the theory behind it.
You don't think about it, but it has just become normal over time that it doesn't happen.
Have we killed too many
Whenever we
bugs?
were driving long drives, it was boom, bug, boom, bug. You got to get the windshield wipers going. And now there's no bugs ever
Yeah.
splattering on your
I've
windshield.
read a study about this, Josh. They actually have figured out that bugs are starting to adapt to cars. Bugs have figured out that cars travel at a certain height, and they've started
Well,
to
if
adjust
that's not
over time.
some kind of proof of
Let's also
evolution.
please give a big shout out to all of the pesticides that we be dropping on everything these
Sure
days,
do.
killing all the
Let it-
bugs.
just
You
let
know,
it-
that
well,
is
we be
probably
putting it in our own
that's
food even.
that's really what we've been doing. It's we've just killed all the bugs over time.
I heard a sad
This is
one.
a great movie podcast.
Well, I should say my sad one then. I heard a similar question that was, one day was the last time you went outside and played with your friends.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just
That's a
one
common-
day, that never happened again.
Common phrase. There's the phrase,
Honestly-
you never know when the last time you pick up a kid or pick up your kid.
Or when you were
I've heard
picked up,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a nugget of a horror movie here somewhere. Just at one point in time I had a kid. What happened? Like I just forgot that I had a kid. Like, there's something there. There's a little horror like with this little thing. There's something there.
It's got to be.
Somebody who's more talented than us, pick it up.
Yeah, we just talk about things talented people make. I kid. Hey, this is going to come out. Okay, yeah, this will come out in time. So I wanted to mention this in our news show while I think about it. Circle Cinema is doing their next premiere of Breakup Season. It's having its theatrical opening. We talked about that.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to our episodes with Samantha Isler.
Mm-hmm.
She is the lead actress in that movie. And then we also did a review of the movie, which we all really enjoyed and highly recommend it for a kind of out-of-the-box Christmas movie.
Yes. The movie premiered initially at Circle Cinema Film Fest in July. Like you said, we talked to Samantha for that. And now it is getting its theatrical run, limited theatrical release. So it'll be open November 15th, which is Friday, if you're watching this in real time.
Nice.
And it's running through at least the 21st, so I think it might just be getting a 1-week engagement. But if you go on the 15th, Samantha will be there, and they're going to do a Q&A with her after the film. So I might need to look at my own schedule for Friday. That could be fun to do. You guys been
David
watching?
had a busy week. He's been catching up on a lot of things.
You could call it that. You could call it a busy week for sure. Some of it's spread out a little more. I think you guys have both seen this. I saw Saturday Night.
I haven't seen it.
Saturday Night Live, sort of, not really biopic, but sort of historical fiction movie. And I really enjoyed that. I think that's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. Not necessarily top 5, but top 10 at this point. A lot of fun performances, really chaotic energy. Josh, you saw it. I don't know how they did. With all the different things that movie did, somehow, and this isn't a spoiler, but they made bricklaying tense. And I don't know how they pulled that off.
Yeah,
but,
I didn't even think. I forgot about that part. That was fun.
But a lot of good little performances, but every performance is so fleeting that like you don't hang on any one of them for too long, because the whole energy of the movie is that like you're seeing this all from Lorne Michaels' perspective of trying to manage essentially a live play. And if you've been in a play scenario, you know what that backstage energy can be like, and I think they nailed that.
Did you feel, or did you get the idea of Lauren is Kermit and he's trying to put together? Okay, it's there.
I did. I totally did. And he even has sort of his Fozzie. He has his Gonzos of sort, and he has his people who are wishing ill of him, not necessarily hurling fun insults, but I totally get that energy, that vibe. I appreciated you told me that I might not care for Jim Henson's portrayal, but I think it's accurate to how the SNL cast thought of Jim at the time.
Yeah,
I think that
mean to him in the movie,
they were very mean to him,
and his Muppets.
And he I would love to actually know more about that whole scenario, because it's very vague, the information we have. I think the only thing I didn't care for was sort of presenting him as being sort of anti adult humor or whatever, because by all accounts he was very big on adult humor. He did not mind that. He just thought that it had its place, and that, like, you know, his characters, the Muppets and Sesame Street, they were not for that. And so he wanted to have ideally he would love to have adult characters in his
I
Muppets.
read some others point out
anyway.
that it was that he wasn't as maybe prude as they kind of made him seem.
Yeah, that's the way to think about it. He wasn't quite that prude, but anyhow, I get it though. I thought it was probably a little one-dimensional, his portrayal, but still fun. Anyhow, I thought everything else though, I thought really was very fun, and I highly recommend it. But I can understand if for some the story here is very scattered. It's very hard to nail down at any one moment because of the nature of the idea. So it worked in that regard. The kid playing Lorne, I think Gabriel LaBelle, I think is his name. And this kid's going places, I think. He's really impressed me because he was also, he was young Fableman in the Fablemans as well. And so between these two performances of Lorne and essentially, you know, young Steven Spielberg / not Steven Spielberg, this kid, I think this kid's really good. So I really look forward to more stuff from him, and I hope he gets more work to do. I've been really impressed with him. Let me move on though to what I saw today. I saw The Wild Robot, and this was actually really nice. I think that in a different year, this would probably be your front runner for Best Animated Film at the Academy Awards. I think that most likely the Academy is going to default to something like Inside Out 2, which admittedly I do think was better. But I think this was a really solid movie. What I like the most about it is that it never at any point is it obnoxious. It is like the anti-Minions in terms of movies. It is never annoying. the characters are fun. There's humor, but it's not obnoxious humor. It's not just making noise to make kids laugh. I think that this is something that a lot of younger kids will like. I think like the 7 to 12 age range is going to love it a lot, and I think adults would actually enjoy sitting through this with their kids. There's sort of a lot of metaphors about parenting in there as well, so I think it's a really good family movie, and I understand why it's done so well this quarter.
Is it reminiscent to The Iron Giant? Because that's the main reason I have only been hesitant. I want to see it, but I do feel like I'll be like, oh, that was great. It was The Iron Giant.
You know, in some superficial ways, maybe it's similar to The Iron Giant, but it feels more. Gosh, I gotta think of a comparison that comes to mind. One of the other movies I watched this week, it drew allusions to that for me. Gosh, I had to come back to you for a good comparison to give you, but
Okay.
And in some superficial ways, it's like The Iron Giant, because you do have a robot that is learning about sort of human concepts and sort of overcoming its programming. But there's a really interesting sort of parallel they draw between robotic programming or algorithmic programming and sort of instinct in an animal. At one point the Fox character decides, hey, he tries to eat something that the robot doesn't want him to eat, and he goes, well, hey, it's in my nature, and she's like, in your programming, or something like that. And it's like, oh, there's something in us that drives us to do these things, and how do we overcome that to do what we actually view as right? That type of stuff. So there's some superficial elements that are similar there, but I don't know if it's wholly that.
Nice.
And there's
I'm interested.
there's no humans in it at all.
Just
so-
robots or animals too?
Just robots and animals. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
We
wanna
see
it.
some imagery of humans, but we don't really have like any human characters.
Is it kind of like Cars, where the robots just exist?
No,
Like
it's
who
not.
built the robots?
No, the robots are built by humans, but they are not.
Oh.
They are not. They are not overly functional to the story. They are.
Gotcha.
They are sort of seen in video form, and they're seen sort of in the background at times, but they're not the focus in any way. So these robots are made to serve. They have a task that they're supposed to commit. Like they are given tasks. They achieve those tasks. Well, this robot is plunked down in the middle of the wilderness with no one to help and no one to serve, and so it has to find its meaning, its purpose, in a place that doesn't technically need it. There's sort of your lead in a little bit. So really good. I recommend this too as well. Maybe when this drops on streaming, it's a definite watch.
Well, before you move on, I know you guys both have 99 movies, and I have a new movie, so let me do mine, and then we can switch gears.
That makes sense.
I went and saw the new movie Anora a few days ago. I've been looking forward to it for a while. It's from Sean Baker, who directed The Florida Project, a movie that we covered here on the show.
Right.
A very different movie from The Florida Project, though. It's about Anora, a young sex worker from Brooklyn. She kind of gets to have this Cinderella story when she meets this... he's like the son of a Russian oligarch, so he's like this super rich guy, and she makes this... they get married, basically. This last minute decision to run away with him and get married. But once the family finds out, it becomes a bit of a action movie.
Okay.
The family's like, this is not allowed to happen, and it will not happen.
Ooh.
And I don't want to spoil the movie, but that's the setup, is that she kind of gets roped up into this Cinderella story with this rich young man, and then things turn south. So I enjoyed it. It's really really fun.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good reviews for
Has a lot,
this,
yeah.
award buzz for this. It's one that I am interested in seeing if and when I get an opportunity. So nice to hear it's got good reviews. I definitely have heard good things.
I recommend it. I had a lot of fun watching it. I mean, it's not all fun. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really heavy messages going on, some heavy themes going on. But Mikey Madison is her name. She plays Anora. She brings so much personality to the character that I laughed at her a lot in a good way. She was very funny, and she's very independent and a strong character. But there is a lot of heavy themes in the movie, so it's definitely it's one of those watches where you're like you're enjoying it, but you're like, oh, I'm also thinking. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it 4.5
We love
stars.
a thinking movie.
Wow, 4.5.
That's great. That's great.
Okay.
4.5 for me. Yep, that's my new movie of the week. Anora, go check it out. It's in theaters now. Now let's go back in time.
Let's topic of the month.
Topic of the month.
That's a
What
little
is
too
that?
far, Bess. That's Wayne's World.
Yes, okay. I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue. Well, Garrett, you do yours first. We've already heard some of it, some David.
Yeah, I
talk,
talked too much already.
It had to happen, boys. I went back and I watched Blue Streak. We've talked about it for too many weeks.
True.
It's come up too many times, and I had to be the one to do it
Is
because
this
I
gonna
was the
be
one who
Tombstone
grew up.
again?
I
Yeah,
hope
this
so.
is gonna be
Because
our-
I got to tell you what. You know what this movie made me wish? I wish we lived in a world where we had less bad 1.5 hour comedies, because truly living in a world of 1999 where a 1.5 hour comedy that was this kind of stupid with a celebrity that was just allowed to be himself is fun. And we live in a world where any jackwagon can get a 90-minute anything on Netflix, Hulu, streaming, Tubi, whatever
Yes.
you want, you got it, man. It is there, and you can find it, and it's probably dumber than you think it is. We don't need that excess in our world. We just don't need it. That's the kind of thing we don't need. We need less of that, because that's where Blue Streak shines. Blue Streak is just 90 minutes of Martin Lawrence riffing on idiots, and I liked it. I fully expected it to be stupid, and it was. The story's dumb. He is a jewel thief who is trying to steal a diamond, and he gets caught, and he puts it in a building under construction while he gets out of prison, and wouldn't you know that building is turned into a police
Oh,
station.
yeah. I remember that.
What if I
Now.
told you that Blue Streak has a 3 on Letterboxd?
I wouldn't be surprised, because that's where it lives.
My memories are surprised, but I haven't watched it in a long time. I was like, this is easy,
honestly.
early, or like low 2.
Oh, yeah.
It was better than I expected, because he was funny. The things he was saying was funny. The situations they were doing were funny. And it is so stupid. It really is stupid, but it is rewatchable. I don't think it's worth a sequel, right? Like, who's asked? No, I couldn't tell you anybody's names.
It's just Martin.
I couldn't tell
He's
you
the only one
anybody's
asking.
point. It is. It's just Martin Lawrence, and he's funny in this movie. That is what it boils down to. He is funny, and Luke Wilson is there. You know,
As he often is.
Dave Chappelle is in there, and they have funny moments. There's several like recognizable faces of like, oh, I recognize that guy. Oh, I recognize that guy. But like nobody matters except for Martin Lawrence. And how they connect this to a sequel, I don't know, because it ends with him on the Mexican border after they found out who he is, and they can't cross him because jurisdiction. And then he just lives in Mexico. So like, I'm not sure what we're doing here.
Yeah, I don't know.
It ends with Martin Lawrence living in Mexico?
Yeah, because he chased after this whole movie he's trying to get his diamond back. And the person that had it went to Mexico, and they think he's a cop, but he's not. And so he's just breaking all the rules and stuff. And so he drives into Mexico chasing after this man to get his diamond. And then he just is in Mexico, and the police officers are like, we know who you are, but because we went through all of this together, you're one of us, and you're on the other side of the thing, so we can't arrest you. And
Is
then he just
someone
lives in
gonna
Mexico.
steal his jewel again, maybe?
Gotta be. That's the only
You
thing.
gotta keep better track of that thing.
Think that I will also end up watching that at some point this month as I revisit 1999, because I'm trying to watch some other 99 movies beyond what we have on the schedule.
The biggest shock that I had was that I had to rent it, because I was like, I'll pay for it, whatever, Blue Streak. It was like $14. It's like, I'm not paying $14 for Blue Streak.
Every penny went to Martin Lawrence.
I'm gonna rent it for $3.99.
How is this not streaming, guys? How? That's a Netflix movie. Get that shit on Netflix.
For sure.
Dang.
David, quick rundown of yours and then the box office.
Yes, so here's the movie I was gonna compare Wild Robot to. I already watched 1999's Tarzan from Disney. This, I feel like, does have a lot of thematic similarities. And my son loved it. This was the first time, like, real watch for him. He's kind of seen bits of it, but, couldn't really hold him. He actually sat and watched this whole thing this time. Got really invested in it. Really liked it. Was really disappointed when the leopard went away. Big leopard kid. So, but he was... But he got into it. He really liked it and likes the songs. There's not a skip on the soundtrack. I actually still hold this really highly. It's a top 10 Disney movie for me. The animation's great. It's not, the best part about it is it's not too steeped in its time. Like, there are movies, specifically animated movies, that really try to capture the topical things of the time they live in. A lot of catchphrases, a lot of pop culture references, that type of thing. Actors who were really popular at the time. Now, I'll give you, there are some actors in this that were popular in the late 90s that aren't as popular now, but the movie manages to not rely on them to, like, be the whole thing. So, humor holds up, animation holds up, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend Tarzan. The other one I watched.
I want to correct you on one thing real
Go
quick.
ahead.
The best part of that movie is the Phil Collins.
Yes, that's the thing. Music, it holds up incredibly. If anything, music is better now than it was then. Not a skip on the track. Jack confused me because we were writing and I tried to turn on the soundtrack and the first song starts playing and he says, I want the Shooby-Doo song. And I thought he meant the Scooby-Doo song. So I was like, oh, you want to listen to Scooby-Doo? Okay. So I turn on Scooby-Doo. Where are you? And he goes, no. And he's like yelling at me. I'm like, what is your problem? What do you want? You said Scooby-Doo. And he goes, no, I want
Shooby-Doo.
I want the gorillas singing at the camp. And I was like, oh, you want the Shooby-Doo song. You want this. And I was like, this is called Trash in the
That's
Camp.
funny.
So anyway, we listened to that. And we had a lot of fun. The other movie I watched was a movie I've referenced a few times while we're talking about the box office stats from 1999, and that is The World Is Not Enough, the James Bond film from 1999. Much to Arch's disappointment, I did not like this. It was kind of dull, and the plot had to do something to do with oil, but it was not a compelling plot. And, I said this in my Letterboxd review, it was a simpler time, it was a hornier time. It was like Bond was just out for it, like there was not a lot. He was not beating around the bush. Pierce Brosnan was dropping,
but he wanted to be
the most. We talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger and the one-liners when we talked about Total Recall. Brosnan is dropping the most obvious one-liners in this movie with no effort, like no prompt, no effort. He's like, he's pulling down a doctor's skirt and he goes, we'll see if we can't skirt the situation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not even that funny. But one of the best finishing lines, no pun intended, at the very end of the movie, which we'll get into another time. But I don't know if we can repeat it on YouTube. But anyway, not a great time. Have you guys ever seen The World Is Not Enough?
No.
This is the one where
I don't think
It's been too long.
I've never seen any Bonds that we haven't recorded for this franchise, for this show.
this was this is the only other Brosnan Bond I've seen at this point. I saw Die Another Day as a kid, but this one is the one that stars Denise Richards as Dr. Christmas Jones. So that's it. That was my trip to 1999 this week, outside of our movie of the week.
Yeah, hit us with that BO now.
All
But
right,
not the
box
bad
office
kind.
rundown real quick. Because we're recording this a day later than we normally do, I have the actual numbers here. Venom: The Last Dance is your number one movie of the weekend, bringing in 15.9.
Did I get to tell you guys I saw that?
Yeah, you told us about
Yes.
it.
Okay, good. Then continue. I couldn't.
it's,
It was so forgettable. I forgot I told you.
It's in its third weekend of release. At number 9, this was actually a pretty tight contest here. Number 2 is Heretic, bringing in 11.6 million. This is the Hugh Grant sort of psychological horror movie. I almost considered seeing this instead of The Wild Robot, but I thought I need something that makes me feel better, so I went with this. And I went with that instead. Just behind it, now you guys may or may not have heard of this particular story before. At the number 3 spot is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, bringing in 10.7. Have you guys heard of this? So this is based off of a sort of young children's book.
I have. Pete Holmes is in it. Yeah.
Yeah, Pete Holmes
me a
is in.
second.
Pete Holmes is in the film version here. I read this book as a kid. It's about a group of rambunctious sort of hillbilly bullies that nobody likes in town, and they they managed to somehow push themselves into the small town church's Christmas pageant, and hijinks ensue, and lessons are learned and all that. So it's a nice little book. I think there's been a few film versions before, so this is kind of a new film version. Probably a pretty nice, mostly inoffensive Christmas movie. I'm sure this year. It's got Pete Holmes in it, so that tells you about as much as you need to know.
There is. I'm just always shocked to see Pete Holmes anywhere but after midnight.
Anyway, brought in 10.7. The Wild Robot in its 7th week brings in 6.6 million, and then finally wrapping it up with Smile 2, it brought in 5.1 million this weekend as well. So that is your box office rundown for this week.
That's basically it for us. We've covered a whole show here. We'll let you know that later this week we've got our next episode in Party Like It's 1999 November, which is going to be Office Space. Excited for that one, a Mike Judge comedy. And then we've got a whole month ahead still. So a lot of 1999 partying still to come. And then Santa time after that.
Were they raising the roof in 1999? Had that gone out of style yet? I don't remember.
I don't know the timeline behind raising the roof.
When was the Millennium?
It's still the Millennium.
2000.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for us. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe on YouTube or in your favorite podcasting app. You can also follow us online on Instagram at So Many Sequels Pod, and go to SoManySequels.com and find all of our past episodes there, and the links to our socials. We will see you all very soon. Bye.